You think silence makes you the bigger person. It doesn't. It makes you a doormat. And every time you swallow your words when you should speak up, you're not keeping the peace. You're killing your self-respect. The Stoics weren't quiet pushovers. Marcus Aurelius commanded armies. Epictetus refused to be broken even as a slave. They spoke when it mattered. Today, I'm showing you the 7 situations where your silence isn't wisdom. It's weakness. And if you've been wondering why people keep crossing your boundaries, disrespecting your time, and treating you like you're invisible, this is why. Stay until situation number 4. That's the one destroying your relationships right now, and you don't even see it. If you want more truth like this, hit that subscribe button. My goal is to help 1,000 more people reclaim their dignity this month. Be one of them. Let's begin. 1. When someone repeatedly violates your boundaries. Here's what nobody tells you about boundaries. They mean nothing if you don't enforce them. You can set a boundary all day long. You can announce it, you can write it down. But if someone crosses it and you stay silent, you just taught them that your boundaries are suggestions. This isn't about being aggressive, it's about being clear. The Stoics believed in living according to nature, and part of human nature is self-preservation. When you allow repeated violations without consequence, you're acting against your own nature. Picture this. Your coworker keeps dumping their work on you at the last minute. The first time, you helped out. Good for you. The second time, you grumbled but did it anyway. By the 5th time, you're drowning in their responsibilities while they leave early, and you haven't said a word. Your silence became permission. Epictetus said some things are up to us and some things aren't. Their behavior? Not up to you. Your response? Completely up to you. And when you choose silence, you're choosing to abandon yourself. Here's the truth that stings. Every time you let someone cross a boundary without speaking up, you lose a piece of your self-respect. It doesn't come back easily. Self-respect is like a muscle. The more you fail to use it, the weaker it gets. So what do? You speak, calmly, directly, without apology. I've helped you several times, but I can't take on your work anymore. I have my own deadlines. That's it. No need to explain your entire schedule. No need to justify your existence. The people who respect you will understand. The people who don't will get angry. And their anger will tell you everything you need to know about why they kept crossing that line in the first place. Don't mistake peacekeeping for peace. Real peace comes from mutual respect. And respect starts when you show yourself that you're worth defending. 2. When you're being blamed for something you didn't do, false accusations are poison. And your silence when falsely accused isn't nobility, it's self-destruction. I've watched people stay silent when blamed for mistakes they didn't make because they wanted to avoid conflict. They thought taking the hit was the mature thing to do. What actually happened? They got the blame, someone else got off free, and it happened again and again. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the importance of truth, not as a weapon, but as a foundation. When you allow a lie about you to stand unchallenged, you're not being stoic, you're being a coward. Let me be clear. This isn't about defending yourself against every tiny criticism. If someone says you were a bit short in a meeting and you were, own it, move on. But when someone blames you for their failure, for something you had no part in, for a mess you didn't create, your silence is a lie. Here's a real scenario. A project fails. You were part of the team, but the critical mistake was made by someone else. In the meeting, all eyes turn to you. The actual person responsible says nothing. Your manager asks what happened. This is your moment, not to throw anyone under the bus, but to state facts. I handled X and Y, which were completed on time. The issue occurred in Z, which wasn't my responsibility. Simple. Factual. No drama. What happens when you don't speak? You get the reputation. You get passed over for the next opportunity. You get the growing resentment that eats you alive at 3 a.m. The Stoics taught that we should accept what we cannot control. Being falsely blamed? That's someone else's action, out of your control. But clearing your name? That's entirely within your control. And choosing not to is choosing to betray yourself. Some of you are thinking, but won't I look defensive? Only if you are defensive. There's a massive difference between frantically justifying yourself and calmly stating facts. Learn it. Your reputation is built on truth. When you let lies about you become the accepted story, you're not taking the high road. You're digging your own grave. Speak up. Not because you need everyone to like you, but because you need to respect yourself when you look in the mirror. 3. When your values are being compromised. This is where most people lose themselves completely. They stay silent when the group goes against what they believe in, because fitting in feels safer than standing alone. It's not. Seneca wrote about how we should live according to our principles, not according to the crowd. Your values aren't decorations. They're not something you hang on the wall and admire. They're supposed to guide your actions. And when you abandon them to avoid discomfort, you become a stranger to yourself. Here's how it usually plays out. You're in a meeting. Someone suggests doing something that cuts corners, something that goes against your integrity. Maybe it's lying to a client. Maybe it's taking credit for someone else's work. Maybe it's participating in gossip that destroys someone's reputation. Everyone around the table nods. No one objects. You feel the pressure. You think, if I say something, I'll be the problem. I'll be difficult. I'll be the one who doesn't fit in. So you stay quiet, and you walk out of that room feeling sick. That sick feeling, that's your soul telling you that you just betrayed yourself, and no amount of rationalization will make it go away. The Stoics were crystal clear about this. External things, including other people's opinions, don't determine your worth. Your character does. And every time you compromise your values for acceptance, you chip away at the only thing that actually matters. I'm not saying you need to be self-righteous. I'm not saying you need to lecture everyone. But when something violates your core principles, you need to speak, even if your voice shakes, even if you're the only one. I'm not comfortable with this approach is a complete sentence. You don't need to mount a moral crusade. You just need to make your position clear. What's the worst that happens? People might disagree. They might think you're difficult. They might exclude you from future decisions. And here's the truth that will set you free. Those are all acceptable outcomes compared to losing your integrity. You can recover from being disliked. You can recover from being excluded. You cannot recover your self-respect once you've sold it for acceptance. The people who matter will respect you more for having a backbone. The people who don't respect you for it have told you everything you need to know about their character. Live according to your values or watch yourself disappear. 4. When someone disrespects you in front of others. Public disrespect requires a public response. Not because you need to put on a show, but because silence in front of others teaches everyone watching that you're an acceptable target. This is the one most people get wrong. They stay silent when insulted publicly because they don't want to cause a scene. Meanwhile, the person who just disrespected them already caused the scene. You're just choosing whether to be a participant or a victim. Imagine this. You're at a family gathering. A relative makes a cutting remark about your job, your appearance, your life choices. Everyone heard it. Some people laugh nervously. You feel your face get hot, and you say nothing. What just happened? That relative learned they can disrespect you without consequence. Everyone else learned you won't defend yourself, and you learned that keeping the peace matters more to you than keeping your dignity. Marcus Aurelius said that we shouldn't let others' opinions disturb our calm, but he didn't say we should accept abuse in silence. There's a difference between being unbothered by petty criticism and allowing someone to publicly humiliate you. Here's what a Stoic response looks like. Calm, direct, immediate. That was disrespectful, and I won't accept being spoken to that way. No yelling, no insults back, just a clear boundary. Will it be uncomfortable? Absolutely. Will some people think you're overreacting? Probably, and their opinion is irrelevant. What matters is that you showed yourself that you have a spine. The pattern here is crucial. When you allow public disrespect to go unchallenged, you invite more of it. You become known as someone who can be pushed around. And before long, you're the family punching bag, the office doormat, the friend everyone dumps on. This isn't about pride. The Stoics warned against excessive pride. This is about self-preservation, about maintaining the basic dignity that allows you to function in the world without carrying resentment everywhere you go. Some of you are thinking, but what if it ruins the relationship? Here's a better question. What kind of relationship requires you to accept public humiliation to maintain it? That's not a relationship. That's hostage situation. Real relationships, healthy relationships, get stronger when you enforce boundaries. The people who truly care about you will apologize when you point out their disrespect. The people who don't care about you will get angry that you stood up for yourself. Both responses give you useful information. Stop sacrificing your dignity for fake harmony. Speak up when disrespected publicly, or accept that you've chosen to be a doormat. 5. When you witness injustice against others. You don't get to call yourself a Stoic and then stay silent when you see someone being mistreated. That's not philosophy. That's cowardice wrapped in intellectual language. The Stoics believed we're all part of the same human community. Marcus Aurelius called it cosmopolitanism. We have duties to each other, and one of those duties is speaking up when we see injustice. Here's the scenario that tests you. You see a colleague being bullied, or a friend being gossiped about behind their back, or someone being discriminated against. You're not the target. You're just a witness, and you have a choice. Most people choose silence. They tell themselves it's not their business. They don't want to get involved. They're sure someone else will say something. No one does. And the injustice continues because good people chose comfort over courage. Epictetus was a slave who gained his freedom and became one of the most respected philosophers in Rome. You think he would have respected someone who watched abuse and said nothing? You think he would call that wisdom? Your silence when others are being harmed isn't neutrality. It's complicity. Every time you witness wrong and say nothing, you're casting a vote for that wrong to continue. I'm not telling you to be a hero. I'm not saying you need to put yourself in physical danger. But when you see someone being torn down, excluded, or treated unfairly, and you have the power to speak up without serious risk, you have a responsibility. Hey, that's not fair, is sometimes all it takes. "I don't think we should be talking about them this way," can stop gossip in its tracks. "That comment was out of line," can shift an entire dynamic. What's the real risk? That people will be annoyed with you, that you'll be seen as difficult, that you might face some social discomfort. Compare that to the cost of living as someone who watches injustice and does nothing, who builds a life on the foundation of moral cowardice, who can't look themselves in the mirror without seeing someone who abandoned their principles when it mattered. The Stoics taught that virtue is the only true good, and one of the core virtues is justice. Not just avoiding injustice yourself, but actively opposing it when you encounter it. You don't need to be aggressive. You don't need to be self-righteous. But you do need to speak, because your silence makes you part of the problem. And before you tell yourself that it won't make a difference, consider this. The person being mistreated will remember who spoke up. They'll remember who had their back. And you'll remember what kind of person you chose to be when tested. Choose wisely. 6. When your needs aren't being met in a relationship. This applies to romantic relationships, friendships, family dynamics, all of it. If you're unhappy because your needs aren't being met, and you haven't clearly communicated those needs, you're creating your own suffering. Stoicism isn't about being emotionless. It's about being rational. And there's nothing rational about silently resenting someone for not meeting needs they don't know you have. Here's how this plays out. You're in a relationship. Your partner does something that bothers you. Or more accurately, they don't do something you need them to do. You say nothing because you don't want to seem needy, or demanding, or difficult. So you stay quiet, and the behavior continues, and your resentment grows, and eventually you explode over something small because you're actually angry about 6 months of unaddressed issues. Your partner is blindsided. They had no idea anything was wrong, and you're furious that they didn't read your mind. See the problem? Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the importance of clear communication and rational thought. Expecting people to know what you need without telling them isn't rational. It's magical thinking. Your needs matter. Full stop. And if you don't advocate for them, no one else will. This isn't selfishness. This is basic self-preservation. "I need more quality time together" is a fair statement. "I feel disconnected when we don't talk about meaningful things" is honest communication. "I need you to follow through when you commit to something" is a reasonable boundary. But you have to actually say these things out loud, with your words. What stops you? Fear. Fear that expressing your needs will push them away. Fear that you'll be too much. Fear that you don't deserve to have needs in the first place. And every day you operate from that fear, you move further from a genuine relationship and closer to a performance where you play the role of someone who needs nothing. The Stoics taught that we should focus on what's in our control. Your needs are real. Communicating them is in your control. Whether the other person meets them isn't in your control. But at least you gave them the chance. Some relationships end when you start speaking up about your needs, and that's valuable information. Better to know now that this person can't or won't meet you halfway than to waste years in silent disappointment. The relationships that matter will get stronger when you communicate clearly. Because real intimacy requires honesty, and honesty requires the courage to be vulnerable about what you actually need. Stop suffering in silence and then blaming others for not saving you. Use your voice, state your needs, and let the chips fall where they may. Your needs aren't negotiable, but they are your responsibility to communicate. 7. When you know someone is making a destructive decision, this is the hardest one. Because sometimes speaking up means risking a relationship with someone you care about. But watching someone destroy themselves without saying a word isn't love. It's cowardice. The Stoics believed in speaking truth, not because it feels good, but because truth serves the greater good. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is tell someone what they don't want to hear. Picture someone you care about. They're making a terrible decision. Maybe they're staying in an abusive relationship. Maybe they're developing an addiction. Maybe they're about to make a career move that will ruin them. You see it clearly. They don't. You have two options. Say something and risk them getting angry, or say nothing and watch them crash. Most people choose silence. They tell themselves it's not their place, that people have to make their own mistakes, that speaking up won't change anything anyway. All of that might be true, and you should still speak. Not because you can control the outcome. You can't. They might ignore you. They might cut you off. They might do exactly what you warned them against. That's all outside your control. But whether you speak the truth as you see it, that's entirely within your control. And the Stoics were clear that we're responsible for our own actions, not the results. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius constantly, offering guidance, warnings, and truth. He didn't stay silent to protect the friendship. He spoke because the friendship meant he had a duty to be honest. Here's what this looks like in practice. Not lecturing, not controlling, not trying to force someone to see things your way. Just clearly, calmly, stating what you observe and what concerns you. I'm worried about this relationship you're in. I see patterns that concern me, and I care about you too much not to say something. That's it. You've spoken. You've fulfilled your responsibility. What they do with it is up to them. Will they be angry? Maybe. Will they appreciate it later? Possibly. Will your silence have prevented their crash? Never. The hard truth is that most people won't listen. Most people need to learn through experience, and your words won't save them. But your words might plant a seed. They might provide a reference point later when things fall apart. They might be the thing that helps them realize they're not alone, or they might change nothing. And you'll still be able to look yourself in the mirror knowing you cared enough to speak. What you can't do is watch someone you love self-destruct and stay silent to protect your own comfort. That's not wisdom. That's abandonment. The Stoics taught that we're all connected, that we have duties to each other. And one of those duties is speaking hard truths when necessary. You might lose the relationship by speaking up, but you've already lost it if you're watching them destroy themselves in silence. Speak with compassion. Speak with humility. Speak knowing you might be wrong, but speak, because silence in the face of someone's self-destruction isn't kindness, it's complicity. In conclusion, 7 situations. 7 moments where your silence costs you everything. When someone violates your boundaries, when you're falsely accused, when your values are compromised, when you're publicly disrespected, when you witness injustice, when your needs go unmet, when someone you love is self-destructing. These aren't small moments. These are the moments that define who you are. The moments that determine whether you respect yourself or abandon yourself. The Stoics didn't teach silence. They taught wisdom. And wisdom knows the difference between peace and self-betrayal. Every time you speak up in these situations, you deposit into your self-respect account. Every time you stay silent, you make a withdrawal, and eventually you'll be overdrawn, empty, resentful, wondering why everyone treats you like you don't matter. They treat you that way because you showed them you don't matter with your silence. Here's what changes today. You start speaking, not perfectly, not always eloquently, but honestly, when it matters. In the situations that shape your life, you will be uncomfortable. People will be surprised. Some will be angry, and you will grow stronger with every word. Because self-respect isn't given. It's built. One difficult conversation at a time. One boundary enforced at a time. One truth spoken at a time. The question isn't whether you'll face these 7 situations. You will. The question is who you'll be when you do. Someone who speaks and stands for themselves, or someone who stays silent and slowly disappears. The choice is yours. But make it consciously, because you're making it either way. If this hit home, subscribe to this channel. I'm building a community of 1,000 people who refuse to abandon themselves for comfort. Be part of it. More truth coming every single week. Now go practice. The next time one of these situations shows up, you'll know exactly what to do. Speak.